We're about to go live, you dunce. Go live. He's bringing up like privileged internal Teams chats. Like, oh, I gotta show you something when we're like 9 seconds away from going live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen Live, Mission Maker, Part 2. I'm your host. Well, not really. Not this week. This is your host.
Hi, I'm Elliot Maltby.
What do you do, Elliot Maltby?
I'm a lead designer who makes missions.
Good job. And this is part 2. We've never done a part 2 SCL. Last week, we did one of our game dev episodes where we sit with a developer and we watch them work for an hour. And normally, people just, they do what they can within the course of an hour, and then, we get to the end of the hour. And it's like, okay, that's it. This is what you can make in an hour. And it's good. It's a showcase of process, but it's not like a good result usually, because again, it's only an hour. Elliot fell way behind our estimations and what every other developer that's ever done this, and barely got halfway through the first half of his work because he took over the show hosting, which was fine because I didn't want to do it that week. I'm not complaining. Wow, how are we doing, Dave?
Pretty good.
Show good?
Really good.
So this week we're going to continue. We're gonna pick up where we left off. I want to stress that Elliot has done no work on this between this Friday and last Friday. He's done no work at all in the last week, really. We're going to talk about that in a different meeting. But he's definitely not touched any aspect of this since yesterday. Everything's exactly where we left off. So if the mission works, he was doing a good job last week. And if the mission doesn't work, there won't be a part 3, I promise, because I'm going to Gamescom next week. So, Elliot, say yes.
Hello. Yes.
We got music underneath to drown out the pregnant pauses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Pete. Yeah. We're going to turn it over to Elliot, and he's going to pick up where we left off. Elliot.
Hello.
Where did we leave off?
So, the last thing we did...
We're on the wrong camera.
On the wrong camera. David! Thank you. Hello. Last week, we finished off... we'd made the module that tells the ship to spawn and populates it full of people, and then we was making the actual main module where you are going to be sent to get Void Dude, knock them out, and then deliver them. We'd set up a bunch of that main logic, but just hadn't finished it in time. So we're going to continue on from there. And then hopefully we'll be able to get this done, make the mission record, which is one of the next steps, which is how you guys would see the mission. And then from there, I would play the game, test it, make sure it works, iterate, and so on and so forth. So I'll jump into my logic.
All right.
Cool. So this was the very last thing I did, which was the on object entered, which if anyone remembers, this is where when the player has scanned and found the ship, they have now entered the ship. So then what I put on their HUD is like locate and subdue Void Dude. And then we make sure that they can see that objective and then see that sort of HUD. And then we start proximity tracker. The proximity tracker was the imperfect solution where we don't have FPS scanning in the PU, and I don't want to just mark them straight away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until you're about 10 meters from them to then mark them. And we might do something in the future where I have a detection where if they see you, if Void Dude sees you, then it also adds the marker just to kind of help that along so you don't accidentally shoot the person you meant to subdue. Cool. So one thing next that I needed to do was in the other one, I think I sent some modular AI spawn. Cool. Just checking everything, remembering where I am. I haven't touched this in like a week, so I'm also trying to remember where I was.
Oh, hold on. Go back to my camera. We apparently didn't record the intro for the YouTube version. So, hi, I'm me. That's him. And we started in the middle of the thing. Continue.
Okay, cool. So we have the object entered. Now I just need to set up the stuff for the proximity tracker. So when the proximity tracker tells me that it's done, which is on entered range. So when the proximity tracker is triggered, I'm going to check to see if the person who triggered it is a mission player. Voila. And I want to check that the tracked object, which is how I put the variables in on object entered, the tracked object is the players and the reference is the target.
Can you zoom in on that at all? No, like what's mouse wheel do on the center screen? Does it zoom in? Doesn't zoom in.
Nope. No, it can zoom out. Is that better? Can everyone read that? No.
That's as far in as we can zoom.
This tool was built before we had 4K monitors, therefore it doesn't support 4K. So you either have to get really close to the screen or have just really good eyes. One of the two.
We'll put that on the feature request list.
It's already on there. Set objective marker. So next up,
I can see the Reddit thread. Sergi didn't have 4K monitors to win. The mission people who work in text didn't have 4K monitors.
yeah, we don't need 4K monitors. This is not beautiful. You don't get to see this grid. This is what I have to look at. It doesn't have to be beautiful for
All
me.
flow graphs are beautiful.
True.
Well, that's not true. Actually, I've seen some really nasty flow graphs.
You want to see? Because I'm pretty sure we're close. Look at this. Look at this. So, all of these here, this is all of Siege of Horizon. And if I was to open this up, you see how I can't click this? It's because it's loading it. There's so much stuff in here. It has all of these functions, everything. And this is only a bit that handles a small part of it. And inside of them, all of the graphs are absolutely huge. I've got, which is my horrible one?
So this, we've been building this. Obviously, we're only a couple minutes into this week's show, but if you watched last week's show, this is one Siege of War. This is one aspect of Siege of Horizon here on the left.
So this is one module. This is all the information that I listen to on Siege of Horizon, and all these modules have about the same amount of information in them, just so I can ensure that like every aspect's covered, that every single thing in Siege of Horizon. So when everyone plays Siege of Horizon, it's like, oh yeah, you know, it's somewhat pretty simple. God no, the thing took me 7 months. It's not simple. There's even a graph that just like when you're on it, it lags when you move around because of the amount of nodes that are on it. And it's mainly because we've never had anything with that amount of nodes before, so it exposed a performance issue in the tool. Anyway, away from Siege, away from my life's long work.
To our much simpler mission that we're building today.
Yeah, exactly, an easier one. The players entered the range of Void, so now I need to mark Void due to be killed. So I am going to put in the string, which is subdue and deliver something to, and then target. Cool. And then I'm going to align that to this thing here, which is the objective, and I'm going to set true. So basically what this is happening, when the player gets close enough to Void, I'm going to mark Void. There was one thing I noticed when I was clicking about in my functions, which was this. So I set something up, just to let you know how we think. I set this up last episode, target tag provided. This is this is where we start thinking about how the designers work. So if the designer has given me a target, I need to always take that. However, if they've not given me a target, I'd pick randomly. So for example, what I do in the pre-init, so this is before it has all started, I'm gonna drop down a global function that already exists that we built a while back, which is spawn description has identifier tags. I'm going to set it to be any. Set Boolean.
Gabriel Wolf says, is there a graph for how many times you've complained about the graph editor? It's just a circle. It's just a never-ending circle.
Work on mission, complain about mission, release mission, design mission, work on mission. So far, that's everything. Cool. Right, so set Boolean. So what I'm going to do is I am going to check if the NPCs populate, which is the record that the designer is going to provide me that contains the NPCs, has an identifier tag of target. There you go. And I'm going to go through exclude spawning solution target. Perfect. So then if it does, if the target tag has been provided to me by the designer who used this, because it isn't just going to be me who uses this stuff because it's all modular. If they provided me this, then I can filter my logic differently. So now, for example, I'm not going to do it here, but like when I'm building this stuff for wider use by other people, what I then do is I'd then go and build a random system that will randomly pick out a target, because if they've not specified it to me, then they'll want me to just choose random because they don't care. Like these are sort of like the cases where you'll have in the future where we want to build a bespoke boss encounter. So like where we spawn Mendo or Remy in Siege, they'd be bespoke. So that's where we'd want to care about where they are, or who they are, or what their entity is, and that's what this sort of stuff allows for. Cool. Next up. So we've got, so next up what I do is I assess, because again, what I have to do is I build this and then I've got to test it. So I've got to make sure that I think everything's here that we do. So I'll run through and I'll assess everything I've done. So I set the module location so it only streams in when stuff I care about exists. I start the occupied ship spawner. I get the location object container. I create my objectives. I mark the location. I create my HUD. I filter for that. When the location's loaded in, I filter my action area so I don't get crashed by a mint leaf.
Sylar00 says, hi, question, why do we need to know all this? Thank you. You don't. Watching the show is optional. Continue.
So I've registered my action area. When the player enters my action area, I check if my entity track is empty. I make sure, and if so, because if the target's not provided, then I don't need to. If the target's provided, the marker's already on the target, so I won't have taken the marker away. If the target isn't there, I will check to see if it's a mission player, remove the marker that's telling them to go to the location, and make sure that the correct text is on the screen. Perfect. However, going through this, it looks like either I didn't make it or it didn't save the on exit callback of the location action area. So that would be a quick one to make.
I was going to say, I thought you missed it earlier, but I was taking a nap during the show.
Yes. I wish I could have done that as well. Cool. Is entity tracker empty? So I'm going to check the same thing. So I'm going to check to see if the target is empty. If it is, then I'm going to check if it's a mission player. And then if it is a mission player, which is the entered entity. Perfect. I'm then going to check, and then I'm going to add the player to an objective marker.
You think it probably wasn't made in 4K because most programmers have terrible eyesight from staring at it?
It's quite possible.
I'm going to ask. I'm sorry.
So then I'm going to mark them. Perfect. Easy. So now they're marked. So when they leave the area, if they haven't found the target, I'll mark the ship so they know where to go. This event is sent by the occupied ship spawner when any AI has been spawned. So I check, is it a ship? If it is the ship, I am going to cast it to a ship variable, set a null objective marker because this will handle the marker. And then I pass it in as a find object by radar, which is another module that's just going to handle marking it for me when it's been scanned by any of our scanning routes. And then I'll show the objective. If it isn't a ship, it's a NPC. I will add it to the all occupiers in case I need it. However, if the target tag is provided, so the design is giving me it. I then will check to see if the AI that's calling back to me has that tag. If it does, I'll add it and make it the target, which is perfect. Cool. Module complete, that is kicked off probably after you've knocked them out. This is the one I've just gone over, so that's when you enter, we start the proximity tracker. When you knock out void, we remove the target objective marker. We add the target to be owned by a mission so that the corpse doesn't get cleaned up, because it would if entity spawning was about. We have a lot of stuff in the game that, like, for example, these corpses, if we have loads of them in an area, they'd chug your frame rate even more. So we have to make sure that we clear up things that that we don't need. So by saying this doesn't belong to a mission, if the entity density manager system detects there are too many in a cluster, it will just start cleaning them up to save your performance. Yeah.
It's hard, ain't it?
Yeah, I'm thirsty. And then, so if you have not void them out, I'm going to start the delivery module, which is a part of the modular delivery system. And then I stop the proximity tracker because you've knocked them out, you found them. We don't care that you're there. And to be fair, this proximity tracker node, and this is a good thing about reading about your work, this can probably be put here because when you've found them and I've marked them, I don't care about how close you are to them because they have a marker. Sorry, just close through all of these errors. Nice. Wait, there's more. Have you done? Yep, perfect. Cool. So, you've knocked them out. This will call back to me when that delivery module is finished, and that'll tell me that the mission's over because you've delivered the guy. Voidy. So, cool. Easy peasy. Right, now, the next step. The next step takes us over to a new tool. The next tool is Dataforge. Dataforge is where we build our mission records and fill out a lot of information there. So I will add a record, boom, and it's going to be a mission broker entry, and I'm just going to call it subdue, and deliver. Yeah, you know what? That's fine. Cool. So this is where a lot of the missions are built. This is a huge data graph that takes in a lot of inputs and changes how the mission plays. There's a lot of power up here. For example, I have the power to take a mission that is only allowed for one person and only one of them is allowed to be around at once. And without changing the logic, I can make it so that everybody in the server gets offered it and pulled into the same logic. And that's what we do for things like in the wake of this disaster. The logic is built just to care if the ships have been scrapped, and that's it. But with the Dataforge settings, we're able to make it kind of an open mission that kind of can encourage PvP and other things. Cool. So I'm gonna set a owner. So the owner would be me. We have these owner things just so, because we have a lot of missions, we have a lot of teams now that also help build missions. So we have to make sure that when our amazing QA department put bugs in, for them they see like just the narrative name. So it will say like, in the wake of the disaster is an easy one, but we have bounty ones that have like 7 different names. Why are you laughing? I don't get it.
Because the way you phrase it, it sounds like the QA people were the ones who created the bugs.
They did create the bugs. They give me the bugs, which I'm happy about. I need bugs to know.
So you're saying there are no bugs. Bugs don't exist until QA creates them.
Well, no, I don't bug my stuff. I just.
It's like Schrodinger's
exactly.
code.
Yeah.
It's neither buggy nor works until QA opens the box.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. So they'll put in a bug and it will be about like this bounty mission, but the bounty mission has a random name generator type thing. So the name of the bounty mission could be called anything. And it's difficult for us to understand which record it alludes to on our end. So we have this ownership thing where they can open up the bounty thing and go, the mission, and go, oh, this one's for someone in Montreal, and then we can assign it to them quicker, and which means the bug gets resolved quicker. Whereas if they signed it to us, that's going to be like a 24-hour period until Montreal come online. Not 24 hours, but you know, like 8 hours until they come online, can hit it. Anyway, moving on. Next up, select file. This is referencing the mission module. So I'm gonna place this one in. Yep. So this is referencing the logic that we have just created. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cheeky because I've made a mistake because I forgot what I called this mission. I'm going to right click and I'm going to rename this to actually be Subdue and Recover, and so it's aligned. Cool. So this will call the logic. This means when this record starts, it starts this module and the module will start its processing. Next up, I'm going to take the title of the mission and I'm going to drop that. I'd drop that in there. I'll probably need to export in a minute. In here is where I drop the description, and then I drop the from line. The type, these are all the mission types we currently have. This is what you see in your mobiGlas as to where the mission sort of exists. I'm going to set this on mercenary.
Chat's like typo or bug? The same thing.
I have a note on that which I'll speak to you all about when I'm playing the game. Okay, right. I can go through all these settings, but there's tons of them, and I just tell you all to read my documentation, but you can't. So I'm going to avoid explaining every single one of them, and you guys can all just come up with your own idea of what they do.
Oh, why start now?
I know, right?
We do want to get in and see how the mission actually works.
Exactly, and if I explain through every single one of these, there's a hell of a lot of settings, but I'll try high level them. Reward, this is where we give you a reward that doesn't matter what value we put in because you're all not happy with it no matter what it is. The location mission available is where the mission are generated. The location mission available is where the location would generate. So this is where we can say this mission only stays around Stanton 2. Available date scheduled. This is for stuff like when we do the Christmas missions, Halloween missions, whatever, like seasonal things we do, we can auto set it up here. We have reputation rewards, journal entries, notifies when it pops up on your screen. There's the buy-in, which is obviously you buying in. These ones are the most powerful. The max instances, max players per instance and max instances per player. This is where we can play around with how many of the missions can be active at once, how many you can accept, and how many one person can join into. Can be shared, which is obviously so you can just share it with your friends. Once only, which is the mission can only be done one. We do these for a lot of story missions, so the Arlington Gang missions. Some of these are once onlys because it doesn't make sense for you to play them over and over again. There's a bunch of fail-based ones, so if you're sent to prison, if you become a criminal, or if you leave prison, we can fail missions. These are, again, just more settings that we can play with, so we have respawn time, so that's how long the mission takes to come back. We have lifetime, that's how long it's up for without being accepted. Abandon cooldown, so if you abandon it, how long till you can get it back. Personal cooldown, that's if you complete it, how long until we want to give you another one. And that's just to make it so other people can play the content as well. Don't care about any of this stuff. Well, I won't tell you any about it. Lawful mission, this is if the mission's lawful or unlawful. Mission giver record, this is how we link it to, say, Ruto, Pacheco, Clovis, all of them. Invitation mission, this is how we do appointment missions. So we'd put an appointment in here. So we'd say this is Ruto, and we give an appointment mission. Now the appointment is if we want the player to physically fly and go say hi to Ruto and talk to them or talk to Miles or whatever. It's kind of like a lead-in mission. So you have to have a mission available to you for you to play before you get the invitation to go see them. We don't just do an invitation and then there's no missions for you to play. It's generated based on what missions you're eligible for beforehand. Reputation prerequisites, which needs renaming at some point. This is just what wanted level you are. And then a jurisdictional override, for example, like Grimhex, they have a little bit of a difference in how they do law. Reputation requirements, this is how much reputation, oh my God, no, it's not how much reputation, you're putting me off. It is the reputation required to get this contract, because this entry is essentially a contract. It's how much reputation you need to get or what you need to be equal to. So we might have fireable, we might have, oh my God, it's past. Required, yeah, all right, I'm just gonna move on. The rest of the settings can wait. I can explain them on Spectrum or Reddit if anyone actually cares. So here comes some of the magic. So this is where I'm going to find the location. So I'm going to put this word in here, mission location underscore BP, which links to this. Where is it? Mission location BP. There you go. That links to this, and basically it lets me set information from this side into the mission, so I can control things like what the location does up here. So for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set in here. I'm also going to need to type in location here. Extended text token, this is how we dynamically populate those star words things that I was typing in and talking about, they're tokens. In here I'm going to do a tag search for a location. Now we can pick locations specifically, but to allow for some cases of randomness, we might not want to. So what I'm going to do in here is get a mercenary mission location. I'm going to restrict it to Stanton 1, missions, location system, Stanton 1. So I'm going to restrict it to Stanton 1, so this is where you'll see it. And also because mercenary mission locations are applied to both ground-based locations, it's how you have in-atmosphere bounties. I'm also going to make sure that you can only do it in space. I'm then going to set up a resource tag. So a resource tag, this allows us to say how many missions are allowed at a location at once, because we don't want more than one person doing a kill-all mission, you know, where you got to kill 10 AI at a singular location, because if I turn up and I've got 10 AI to kill and you've got 10 AI to kill, I'm either going to just wipe out your 20, or I'm going to kill 10 and then leave 10, and that just is weird. So yeah, that's that. Next up, we need to set up Voidy's name. So in here, this is where I would add the target name token, which is what we have. I'm going to set it to male. And then I would, for example, I'd put in Voidy's name here, and then that'd bind to Voidy's name, and then you can see in-game it'd show their name. Now this normally we'd leave random, so it has that element of randomness, but for missions like the Arlington mission, that is where we wouldn't leave that. Next up, we have the occupied ships BP. So this is the gonna fill in this. So this is gonna be the ship that we want to spawn. Again, I'm gonna do a tag search. Tags. Nope. Ship spawn description. That's what I want. So this is a special spawn description thing that will allow us to see. It will allow us to see sort of the ship and build this like cookbook recipe. I know I've talked about the cookbook recipe oven thing. So this is how we're going to find the ship. So the ship that we want is a reclaimer, because that's a new fun with, and we're going to look for the mission overlay setup reclaimer. And I'm also going to make sure, just for safety, that I'm looking for the ship tag as well, just to make sure that I don't find anything else funky, because there's a lot of tags on a lot of things. And I have to make sure that I definitely know which one I'm getting. Cool. So this will essentially find that ship that's tagged up as reclaimer. So in here, all the way up in our ship thing, we have a ship entity record. It will live in wherever the entity folder is, which is all the way up here. So in here, we'll have a record that represents the reclaimer with a bunch of like level design markup, and it'll have tags on it. So essentially, we can find that via tags and reference it in our mission. It's just a very quick way of finding stuff. Now this property, the next one, this is the only one that I've pre-built because we have these sort of NPCs that we want to spawn on these occupied ships, and we've built it to a certain level where we know like, oh, we want 10 here, we want 5 here, we want 3 here, and that's like a predetermined amount because we've played it and we've gone, okay, this little bit of the reclaimer, the cockpit is fun with 2 people in, and this cargo area of the reclaimer is fun with like 5 people in. So we've pre-built this, and it's a lot of setup to do, and I'm at half past. So
you're watching the single most accurate CIG presentation ever. Before we started, Elliot told me this last part would only take 10 minutes. Only at twitch.tv/StarCitizen.
Estimations are difficult.
I'm gonna get shit for making that joke.
Okay, so so I've just pasted a load of information in here. As you can see, they're all down here. But essentially what this is the NPC spawn description. This contains a lot of the information for how we find NPCs and spawn them. Because again, an NPC is an actor record, so it's all the way up there with its loadout, its AI activity, its armor it wears, and all of this fun stuff that we have on it. So the best way for me to find it is not to specify it manually, it's to use a generic tag search, because I can use a generic tag search to go generically, or I can put all the tags that that one entity would have on it to find the specific that I want. But because I want to try keep it random, I'll just use some generic tags. So the generic tags I'm using right now are Ninetales and armed. So that's just going to find me a Ninetales person that's armed, and I don't want a boss because you can't take them down, and I definitely don't want the Krayer boss. I've excluded ship crew because they don't have the right activities, and also they don't have pretty good armor. We have the min and max group size. So this is what size of a batch they can spawn in. We have the concurrent spawns and the max spawns. So the difference between these is I could put max spawns to -1, and I could say concurrent spawns of 10, and that'd infinitely spawn NPCs for me, as long as it didn't violate the current spawns of 10. And that's sort of like how we do in Siege. Constant AI coming out is that I say this area should always support 10 people, but I want unlimited. So when there's 9 people, it will queue up an extra spawn of 1, and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of extra settings on here, like we can add stuff to their inventory, we can choose a specific closet or room. Mission allied marker means that they'll get a friendly marker over their head. Identifier tag, so this is where the user would come in here and they'd add the tag of target that I look for in logic. And then this allows them to make a very specific person and say this is where I want them to spawn, which I have one down here. I've spelled target wrong, but this here is an example of where I have Void Dude. Target, yeah. I have Void Dude, and I've specified them as a target, and I've put them only to 1 because they should spawn. They'll spawn with other people, but in that thing, it's saying this is the one target you had. If I had more than one person in there, all 5 of them would be targets, and we don't want that. Cool. So that is the NPC ships to populate. Next up, we have the mission item. So this is, until we get a proper coded system for the delivery thing, it's all handled by logic. We want to eventually have a properly built thing where on here I can say delivery and it has a predefined sort of setup and structure to it. So there's sort of like some hacky things I have to do to get around it. For example, how I define what type of drop-off I want. And when I say type, I mean like you can drop off to a shelf, you can drop off to a locker, you can put it in an action area, or you can drop off to a satellite with Max's new missions in the prison where you put a satellite chip in. So how we specify that is that I have to specify a item, which is kind of like a fake item, which will be of type delivery action area, which basically when this feeds in, it just tells my system to care and do the one that is the action area drop off at the end of the whole loop. Next up is the destination. So this is where the ending point of where I want you to go to drop the target off. So next I'm going to find that location. So tags, it should be location, nice. And I'm going to do a match condition. And then I'm going to do a tag search. So in here, I am going to specify that I want you to take it to an outpost on Stanton 1. Derelict outpost, probably, because it doesn't make sense to take a Void Dude's unconscious corpse to a, what do you call it? And like an active outpost, because I'm pretty sure the admin guy would be like, oh, what are you doing? Cool. And I'm also going to make sure that it only happens in Stanton 1. Nice. And then the last thing that I need to add to this record is the objective setup. So this is just so the delivery system knows what the item's called, so it can put a marker on it if you was to drop it. And this will just be of type string hash. And then in here, for example, what I do is I'm going to drop literally just the token that is going to pull Void's name from his thing. So this would be Void's name, which is mission target name. So that's going to dynamically pull Void's name from this whole thing. So then if you drop him, he has a name. The other things that like I have power to do, for example, on this record here, I can embed a ship name on the ship. So for example here, I could put a name of Void's ship on if I wanted. So I could just like, I don't know, I'd name it something like All Good Ships, because that's his catchphrase, if you've heard it. I can't do a South African accent, but he goes, but all good ships have a name. That went terrible, sorry Void.
Me make camera one. No, not you.
Okay, not me.
I deeply apologize for Elliot Maltby, and the views and opinions of his do not represent those of Cloud Imperium Games, Roberts Space Industries, Turbulent, this basement that we're in, Pete, our audio guy, anybody. I'm sorry.
Carrying on. When I scroll down on this, so next up is the very last thing, which is P.
Jesus Christ.
I know, I keep saying very last thing. This is the actual very last thing for it, I promise you. I just need to add the mission to the... I'm pretty sure it's the last thing. Last thing.
But here's the thing. You keep working. You keep working. This seems like it's taking a long time, but the reality is that we are crafting a mission from scratch using the amazing tools that our Subsumption team and our Dataforge team and our RoboHesi team and everything have created. And the fact that we're going to get it, and dear Lord, I hope it runs. You need to keep working. No,
I'm ready to move on to the next part.
If it works, this is incredibly fast. It's actually very fast.
An hour and 40 minutes to make a mission is insane.
If it works.
If it works.
If it doesn't work, I'm going to Germany and not coming back. All right.
Cool. Okay, so last but not least, so I've added, this is the PU missions. This contains every single mission. And I've dropped in Subdue and Recover. So the next thing is I would boot my server.
So yeah, go to switch to us for this one. There you go. You boot it. I just don't want to do the screen share.
Cool.
We'll tell you when to go back to the screen share. So we're going to boot our server.
Yeah.
Now, in this instance, booting an internal server takes a while. We talked a little bit about that last week. We have had a server running in the background during this, and we're just going to send this information over and hope it stays up and running. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, so that one needs to go away.
Sure.
Yes.
And this one?
Yep.
Cool.
No, that's the game. That's what we want to say.
One, yeah.
That screen needs to go away.
I need to add the C bars.
Yep. And pull that one off.
You want me to move the server away as well? Cool.
Yes.
Cool. Move that out.
That one away. What is that box right there?
That is a beautiful picture of Connor Allenby.
Okay. And now you got to make this bigger.
Oh, okay. I normally play in windowed, and the reason I play in windows is...
You're playing window, just make the window bigger.
Yeah. It's just when I'm building, I have to. I actively change things as I'm building, so it's quick for me to tab out and in.
Yeah.
Where is it? Well, that one.
Okay.
Is that big enough? Do you want it bigger?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, go to go to the last one. Okay. There you go.
Okay.
You still go over there. It's still windowed.
True.
All right. You can switch back now.
Hello. Okay, so I'm in game. So full transparency, I have put God mode and bottomless mags on, and the reason I've done that is because when we're doing this, we're like in the prototype phase, so me playing it naturally isn't important. It's making sure that it works, making sure everything spawns, and then if it does, I then go back and go, right, okay, I'm gonna start like doing it properly to see the experience.
Yeah. We're also not going to have any sound on this because I didn't think about it until just this very moment.
There we go. So next thing I'm doing is I am forcing myself a loadout. So I've got guns because I don't want to spend my time going to the shop. So we have the MFT loadout that I've crafted. So I'll apply that. It will give me in a second. I'll get a body. You know what? I'm just going to have to full screen this, which is quite risky because that could have crashed. Cool. So now I have a body. I have a body. So I have my inventory. I have all of my stuff that I might need. So I've got tractor beams. This is like a very big testing like loadout. It has a lot of stuff that I might need. And next up, I'm going to force the mission, which is subdue and recover. So this allows me to force mission because even though you guys have to wait naturally for it to generate or for you to unlock it via reputation, I just need to test it. So I'm going to force it. So I've done that, and now we have to wait for it to spawn, load. Missions are actually entities, so they have to spawn like everything else in our game. So they'll be in a spawn queue.
Why is that?
You're asking the wrong person. I don't know. It's the coder, who's a hell of a lot smarter than me, goes, these need to be...
You have to narrow that down.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
David, he made this into an entity. It'll probably have a reason. I just don't know it, but it's not anything that I can really just like argue with because what do I know? I just make missions and half of them don't even work. Right, I need to check there's not an asset. Hello? Cool, no assets, we're all clear. So an asset is something that pops up when you're testing to say that something has gone wrong, but it can recover from it so it doesn't crash.
Yeah, you can't leave it. You can't do a full screen. You have to leave it windowed.
Oh, okay.
You just have to leave it a big window.
Well, that's fine because the game just crashed on me.
That's what I'm, yeah. Yeah, you can't make it full screen. You just need to leave it as a very big window. So yes, if you're wondering why we haven't shown the screen for a while, it crashed.
The server
Crashed.
Cool.
This is where I want to. Let's have a conversation about this while we boot up here. No, you still do your thing.
Okay.
You know, you have to look like you're working though. There is the live game environment, and everybody knows you know how that is and what that is. We don't need to go into that here. Then before that, there's PTU Wave 2. Before that, you know, it's a bit more unstable. And then before that, there's PTU Wave 1. Then before that, there's Evocati, you know, where it's generally so bad and unstable and everything. We try to try to keep it out of the ice as much as possible. Then before that is where Will, Dave, and Alex from the ISC Gameplay Capture Team. That's where they have to do all their work. So pour a drink out for the people who make the B-roll in ISC each and every week, because they are working on pre-Evocati builds, and whoo! But before that are where developers work, where the developers and the QA work. So a crash is not an uncommon, is not a surprising thing to happen, especially it just you boot it up and it's like.
Yep. It's most of the time it isn't anything. It's just because we're constantly in active development, so there's just all this stuff coming in, and sometimes you'll hit something that someone else didn't hit, like a sprig of mint, and it shuts it down.
Now the server stayed up. It was just the client that crashed. Oh no, it was the server that went down.
Yes, it's currently booting. Yeah, I know. I can make a video of it. All
right. So why don't we tackle some of those questions that we saw come in a lot last week? You wrote some questions. We're going to do some Q&A here because the server booting takes a little while. What were some of the questions? We collected some of the questions we saw from last week.
So a few people were calling me out on spelling. Yeah, I can't spell, really can't.
It's not a prerequisite.
No, but the good thing is that the coders make it safe, so we don't have to spell. So whenever I'm doing variables and subsumption, the name of it is purely front facing, so I understand what information I've injected into that variable. But behind the variable, it has a unique GUID, GUID, to which the code uses. So it doesn't use my spelling. So if I spell it delivery here and delivery there, it doesn't matter because the number of the variable is what links it. So my spelling errors usually don't really matter. It obviously matters when it's a coder doing it because they're unprotected, but they protect people like me because I can't spell. Cool. Someone asked if we have fail-safes in place for when objects don't get streamed in, as the mission might break. In some areas we do. In some areas we might withdraw the mission. If ever you see a withdraw, it's because something's happened in the back end that we've detected that we know we can't handle. So we just have to take it away from you. And then we would see that withdraw on the mission on our analytics page, and we'd be able to go in and sort of investigate as to why that happened. So we do have some things in place. There are other things you might have noticed where you're doing a delivery mission and the marker is on the ground, underneath. That's basically, that marker is on the OC route of the entire location while we're waiting for the location to stream in, and everything that I need to be loaded for it to then assign you your delivery port. Someone else asked, are these the tools that I use to build PvP missions? Yes, it's all one tool suite. So any mission logic is built in Subsumption.
Just when you make a PvP mission, you have more hate in your heart.
Yeah, it's more about like how am I going to pit players against players, and that's the fun bit. Someone asked me if when a mission chain breaks, so an NPC doesn't spawn, for example, is that typically due to a link in this chain being broken? So the chain that was on about is me connecting my nodes together, and the answer is no. Usually that could be to do with anything. Everything has to go for a spawn queue, and sometimes that spawn queue can get very backed up because we have a lot of stuff in our game. So you could be at your location waiting and someone's just gone to Microtech, and that planet kind of needs to be there first because that's an entire planet. You're gonna either go into it and it's gonna spawn around you and you'll die or whatever. So there are things that are priorities in queues, and the queue system can be huge, but we're constantly working on it to try and make it more efficient and make it so that less requests are handled, and things like server meshing should help because the spawn queue would be dedicated to each like thing that runs that area. Next up was, last one, is there any programmers on the MFT similar to how VFX have programmers? Yes, we have David Pollard, we have Mark Paredes Calder, I'm sorry, I'm going to destroy some of these people's names. We have Mark Mansell, Mikkel Guiana Lorca, sorry Mikkel, Ilya Storovsky, love that guy, and Josh Kitchen. They're all of our programmers on our team. Right, we can go back to my screen. I just need to make it bigger. The mission's on. I've loaded in game. I can't speak. I barely speak.
No, I'm just gonna end like at least 6 sentences the next week with "and Josh Kitchen."
And Josh Kitchen, yeah, Josh Kitchen. He's one of our newest programmers. He's doing great. He keeps finding.
Just live it like that. Just live it like that.
Josh Kitchen.
Stop playing with it.
Oh, okay, but that's fine. Okay then, cool.
I can't see anything.
You what?
I'll show you what I can see.
That was from making it full screen before. All right, hold on. Move.
See, I don't just break missions.
This is going really well. This is going really well.
We've got 10 minutes for me to show you the mission.
This is going really well. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this.
Have you tried to turn it off?
Okay, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do this thing here. And oh, that's even worse. Oh, that's even worse.
Has it lost the...
Yeah. David. Jared has to go behind the desk. Hold on. Talk to the people, Elliot.
Talk to the people.
Read some questions.
Read some questions. Go on then, everyone, ask me questions. I'm here now. Did he delete the game by mistake? No. Glad this show isn't live, otherwise this part would be awkward.
Oh yeah, there's no chance this show is live at all.
Who's your daddy and what does he do?
Who's your daddy?
Not answering
and
that.
what does he do?
What's for lunch? It's 5 p.m. I'm gonna have tea.
Ooh, there we go.
Why are you the worst dev in SIG? I have no clue, but thank you.
Who's that, Luke?
You know what? Yeah, it could be. Why are you two-time? I'm the two-time for a reason. Do you play 40k? I do, yes.
You back, David?
Yes.
Okay.
Safe to
Do the thing.
How much do you bench? Love it.
Nobody asked that. You added that.
Legit,
You
someone
added
put
that.
it in here. Someone asked how much I bench. Okay, so I've accepted the mission, which is here, but it looks like some of the strings have broken, so we won't see some of the strings. Usually, this is because when you're making strings live, you have to make sure you export them to the game. If you don't export them to the game, it uses the pack file strings, and it's something you have to remember every time you shut down the client and reopen it. You have to constantly export to the game. So we're gonna have no strings, but that's fine. Because I can tell you what is on the screen. So what I've just done is I've gone into F3 mode, which is no clip, because again, the important part of my flow is being at the mission and playing the mission. So flying there isn't a part of it, not until I need to start testing naturally. But again, I'm just testing to see if it works. So I'm going to F3.
Going to third person.
Going to F. Yep. This is. I don't have EVA. It doesn't take you into EVA. It's literally just like you're flying as you are. Cool. So I'm going to get a bit closer, faster than any ship can do it. Here's the planet, loading in. I'm get a bit closer to the mission location. Cool, which is here. Nice. I'm going to get around about here. So I've entered the area, so it knows where I am. And so it knows where I am. So at this point, this is where it's like locate, v-spawn, cool. So I have to locate the ship via scanning. Now again, because I skipped the whole ASOP stuff, I'm just gonna v-spawn the Cutlass, which is a quick way of being able to just spawn a ship. Again, quick testing, it's about like getting in and testing your content. I'm gonna make sure that God mode's on so I don't die and we have to restart this whole process. God mode, there you go, and bottomless mags, cool. And basically then all I do is, at this point, the player would be going around and looking for the ship and scanning, but right now this light is blinding me and I can't really see much of my screen. So in this case, what I might do is I might turn on unlit mode for myself and I can see stuff. Makes it look horrible, yes, but again, I'm here to test stuff works. So I'm gonna look around and try find the ship.
We can't do full screen, Zoro. That's what caused the problem before.
Oh, there we go. So there's the ship, and there's the macro on the ship. My God, it's working, Jared. Touch wood. So there's the ship. So next up, I would infiltrate the ship. But again, I'm playing purely for functionality to make sure it works, so I'm gonna fly there. There we go. So here's the reclaimer, the all good ships reclaimer, Void is reclaimer. And next up, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in the airlock. So at this point, because as a developer, at this point, because I've cheated a lot of the way here, I need to chill for a bit. And why I say chill and what I mean by chill is I've beaten streaming on a lot of cases. So I have to make sure that the spawn queue slowly works its way down and all of my stuff spawns. So what I do usually is I'd sit here for a hot minute just while I wait for everything to spawn.
Turn the light back to normal.
Oh yeah, I'll turn the lighting back to normal
So
now.
that Ian doesn't come after me.
So here we go, atmospheric, torch on. So now what my plan would be is that I made the mission so you have to find Voidy. So at this point I would be searching around to see if I can spot Voidy. Oh, someone. There you go, occupied ships, and now there's AI on it. And we've put markups, this is stuff Nick Urko's been working on. Put markup, oh, we have an asset. This is the thing that I was on about. This is something is broken, but it's telling me that it can continue without it crashing. So what our QA would do is they would ensure that they bug all of, like they'd report all these assets, and then each team would get these assets. Oh, clicked out. To make sure, oh, there we go, there's another one. There are CVARs to turn these off, but we usually leave them on so we can see stuff. Like, for example, there might be an asset that I've caused. I keep clicking off the screen. There you go. There might be an asset that I've caused, and this is my only way to figure it out.
You're God mode on. Why are you? Whoa.
I forget. Cool. So, yeah, at this point, I'm looking around, trying to find Voidy. Where you at? Sneaking around. So I'm going to call the elevator and I'm going to head down into some of the other areas. So what do we got? Processing hold. I'll go to the cargo hold. Maybe Voidy sneaking around there counting his minutes.
You don't actually know where he's at. 'Cause
No, I've got no clue.
There's a randomizer element that we put in there.
Yeah, pretty much. You can either specify where they are or you can randomize it. I can't remember where I put Voidy. But cargo hold, you know, he might be in here hoarding his maze, smelling it, having a nice time with it. Voidy. Oh, Voidy. Are you here? Ah, hello. How did you survive that? Oh, they've dropped their weapons. So, so these things are where we'd find issues like this and we'd report and like get these fixed up before, you holding? Before we put it out. I'm just gonna murder hobo everybody. Yep. Nice. Right, now you need to go back out. Voidy isn't in here. And this is places where we'd find like server performance, and we'd look at that and how it affects the mission, because there might be like, we have the proximity tracker in, but there could be the server, currently I'm running it locally, so it's kind of like not going to be accurate, but the server performance could be pretty low to the point where the proximity tracker can't update quick enough. So I can actually see it. Oh, it's this way. So I'm in another area. Oh, waiting for me. Start knocking people out. You wanna? There you go. Again, I've got God mode on, so I don't really need to care about the damage, but players would. Get out of here. You as well. Anyone else? Oh, there you go. There's the marker. I've come close enough to Void, dude, that I know where he is. And I would be able to go up this little bit here, but that because that's the bit that leads up, but I can't climb up there, so I'm gonna go all the way back and try and knock Voidy out. I'm coming. Is that the next floor? Oh my, world's slowest elevator. Come on. Voidy. All his friends have come out to play. Anyone else? No scopes. Cool. Here we go. Voidy, me and you. He's gone. So, next up, as you can see, I now have a drop-off marker. I have Voidy. This would say Void Dude. He's not in his normal armor. Oh, hello. Another asset, of course. So then next up, I grab Void, and then
Oh, what happened to your infinite mags?
it keeps thinking I've got the, oh my God. No one saw that, no worries. It thinks I've got a different gun in my hand, that's why, there you go. And then I'm missing all my shots. Die. Where are you? Where have you gone? Sorted, right, now back to my multi-tool. Cool, and now there we go, we grab Void and Void dude. Cool. I think there's a bug in where if they're unconscious, you can't tractor beam them. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so the mission would obviously fail if you murder Void Dude because you are here to subdue and deliver. But due to that bug and the fact that I haven't built the whole if you kill them the mission fails, because again, just testing for the feeling, I've left him killable. So now Void, Void can actually move with me. Right, next up. So this is the...
Like how quick you were to blame a bug when it was clearly a skill issue.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's all we do all day.
You jumped straight to, oh, it's a bug. Not for a moment considering that you were just bad.
I moved him twice and he shot back to his original location.
Because you were bumping him into stuff.
Bumping him into stuff? He was rubber banding clearly. It's Void's issue. It's your issue, Voidy. Cool. Next up, I'm out the ship and I need to get a ship to then take me back, and I can't be bothered to go get my other ship, so I'll spawn a fresh one.
So lazy.
And then I'll go and, oh my god, third pair, thank you. How close am I? Yeah, it's all right. So next up, I need to put Voidy in the ship. Yep. So I'm gonna open up the back. There he is. Void Dude. Come on. I'm trying to be careful because if I go too fast, he'll detach from my tractor beam. And I'm using no clip mode, so it's a bit quicker.
So this is what bounty hunting V2 looks like? Absolutely not, Voodoo.
No, definitely not.
Shot him through and the door open. That's pretty good.
There you go, right. Move Voidy along.
Why are you still carrying him around?
What, Void?
Yeah. Sorry, he's in the ship already.
You usually make sure he's comfortable, don't you?
And
I might have killed him, but I'm not rude. Now, if it lets me into the seat, there you go. Now, I have to tackle the star map and set a destination.
I appreciate the way you've worded that. I have to tackle the star map. This is where I want to remind everybody. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm saying it now. Every single thought you've ever had about Star Citizen, every single comment you've ever made in Twitch or YouTube or just in the privacy of your own home, we've had them all, we've said them all, and we were doing it long before. We're just like you, and you're just like us. In good ways and not.
Yeah.
Like Elliot's skill issue and blaming bugs for skill issues.
Listen, it was clearly a bug. Okay, right, now I just need my QT to happen. There we go. And now I just need to try to drop him off.
We can assume that, you know, we're already at time. We don't need to keep everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the delivery module is something that has been working for quite some time. So
Right.
This part would be pretty explanatory. You take Voidy, you drop him off in the location. Bob's your uncle.
Actually, Carl was my uncle.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Carl. But there you go. Mission worked. First time. Yeah. Now who can't make missions?
Not counting the crash.
Sharp, huh?
Hi, everybody. So yeah, that's it. We're gonna assume he goes back to Stanton 1. Stanton 1 is what we call internally. Which one is that?
Oh,
That's,
Hurston, sorry.
Hurston, yeah.
Hurston. Yeah, we use Stanton 1, 2, 3, and 4, but they obviously you know him as Microtech Crusader, blah, blah, blah.
Yep. That's it. How you feel, Elliot?
Yeah, good. It took a bit longer, but we got it working. It's not a simple process to make missions.
No.
It takes a while, and then like for example, I'm not even halfway finished because after this I'd go back and we'd look at it as a team, we'd iterate, we'd improve, we'd have a look at how we could make it better. Like what happens if you have to manage Voidy's like food and water? Like do you have to feed him? Would that make it more of an interesting gameplay loop then? Because right now what I did with Voidy, he is essentially box in a different form. So having that extra gameplay of feeding him, making sure he stays healed up and things like that, and that you don't die. You know, we could have reinforcements come after to try and reclaim him, and you have to protect him and all that sort of stuff. Makes for more interesting gameplay.
Yeah. But considering that in less than 2 hours, we did a first pass V1 of a mission,
Yep.
and asserts aside and everything, it functioned.
Yes.
It functioned. Everything that we needed it to do did it for the first version.
Yep.
So like I said, now we would iterate anything. So yeah, that is still a very brief, an extended, but still a very brief look at the mission creation process. I want to thank, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Elliot. And all the members of the mission feature team for their fantastic work, as well as the folks behind Subsumption, the folks behind Dataforge, folks behind RoboHesse. I feel like we have to shout Hesse out, Andrew Hesse. Pour one out for Jake Muley and Ben Dorsey. That's it for this week's show. We got a couple housekeeping things, and then we're gonna throw the raid over to one of our Star Citizens who are playing. Next week is Gamescom. Gamescom is the yearly convention out in Cologne, Germany. It is one of, if not at this point with EA kind of retired, it might be the biggest video game convention in the world right now. That's happening next week. There are three consecutive Bar Citizens going on next week in Cologne. They're on Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. You can check out the robertspacindustries.com website for details. Also, CitizenCon. CitizenCon is just about 9 weeks away. That's the now 2-day event that's going on October 20th and 21st. Is it the 21st or 22nd? 20th, somewhere around there. That's in Los Angeles, California, at the Los Angeles Convention Center. By far the biggest CitizenCon we've ever attempted. Tickets for that are still available also on the robertspacindustries.com website. And because of Gamescom, being next week, and then we're having a summit in the Frankfurt office afterwards. And because of CitizenCon moving off of its traditional 10-10 day and being a little later in the month in October, we are shifting the weekly video cadence for the next week, for the next 2 months really. Every quarter, make sure everybody's paying attention. Every quarter, we produce approximately 10 episodes of Inside Star Citizen. We are still going to produce 10 episodes of Inside Star Citizen, but we are going to introduce a 1-week hiatus next week. That's going to allow us to push our content even closer to CitizenCon without having a big month-long gap between our last episode of ISC and the beginning of CitizenCon. So still all the same episodes, still all the same stories. Basically, we're going to take a break next week, come back the week after with the last 6 episodes of the quarter, all as originally intended. And then there will be no Star Citizen Live next week because I'll be in Cologne hanging out with people at the Bar Citizen. So you needed to ask that question a long time ago.
Shit, never mind.
That was your one. You almost made it to the end without it. So yeah, for Elliot, for me, thanks for watching. We're going to throw the raid to Croncy. It's a Croncy, is that how you say it? I've never actually heard him say his name outside. Croncy, he is a terrific Star Citizen streamer. We're big fans. Elliot's a bigger fan than I am. I think he's all right. But we're going to throw the raid over to him. I just can't. I'm such a jerk sometimes. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. See you in 2 weeks.